brought to you by Soundlibra.com. You can find a direct link to our full library in the description of this audio, or visit us anytime at Soundlibra.com. Welcome to the Growth Mindset Playbook. Ready to unlock your full potential?
I'm definitely ready, Alex. But before we jump into the heart of it, a quick heads up for our listeners. We'll be discussing mental health and personal development concepts, so remember this is for educational purposes and isn't a substitute for professional medical advice.
That's an important note, Lisa. Today, we're starting at the very beginning with the spark that ignites it all, defining what a growth mindset actually is. To truly understand a growth mindset, we first need to contrast it with its opposite, the fixed mindset. Think of it like this: two fundamentally different beliefs about our abilities and our intelligence.
So, it's about what we believe about ourselves from the start?
Precisely. At its core, a fixed mindset is the belief that our qualities, like our intelligence or our talent, are innate and unchangeable. You're either born with it or you're not. People with a fixed mindset often believe they have a certain amount of ability, and that's that.
And this belief then shapes how they approach things, right? If you think you're just not good at math, you might avoid math challenges.
Exactly. For someone with a fixed mindset, a challenging task isn't an opportunity to learn. It's a potential threat to their perceived ability. If they try hard and fail, it proves they aren't as smart or talented as they thought. This can lead to a fear of failure, a reluctance to take risks, and a tendency to give up easily when faced with obstacles. They might also see effort as something only people who aren't naturally gifted need to exert.
That sounds like a really limiting way to live. Always worried about proving yourself, rather than actually growing.
It can be, and that's where the growth mindset comes in as a powerful alternative. A growth mindset, on the other hand, is the belief that our abilities, our intelligence, and our talents can be developed through dedication, hard work, learning, and persistence. It's the understanding that our brain isn't fixed, but is capable of growing and changing.
So, it's the idea that you can become smarter or become more talented, not just be that way.
You've got it. This is a crucial distinction. With a growth mindset, challenges are not threats. They're opportunities to learn and to stretch yourself. Failure isn't a sign of permanent inadequacy. It's a valuable piece of feedback, a chance to learn what didn't work and try a different approach. Effort is seen as the path to mastery, not a sign of weakness.
This makes so much sense. Instead of avoiding difficult things to protect your ego, you embrace them because you know they'll help you improve.
That's the essence of it. People with a growth mindset tend to embrace challenges, persist in the face of setbacks, see effort as the path to mastery, learn from criticism, and find inspiration in the success of others. They understand that becoming good at something takes time and practice.
It sounds like such a more positive and empowering outlook. It's about the journey of learning and improvement, not just the destination of being good at something.
Immensely so. And this isn't just philosophical mumbo-jumbo. This mindset has been extensively researched, most notably by Dr. Carol Dweck, a psychologist at Stanford University. Her work has shown that the mindset we adopt has a profound impact on our motivation, our achievement, and our overall well-being.
I've seen her name before. So, she's been the leading figure in this research.
Indeed, her research started by observing children and their reactions to challenges. Some, when faced with a difficult puzzle, would become frustrated and want to quit. Others, even if they didn't solve it immediately, were eager to try again, often asking for harder puzzles next. This was a key observation that led to the development of the growth mindset theory.
It's fascinating how deeply ingrained these beliefs can be, even from a young age.
It is. And the good news is, mindsets are not permanent. While some people may naturally lean towards one or the other, both fixed and growth mindsets can be cultivated and changed. This is the foundation of the work we'll be doing in this playbook. We're not just talking about understanding these mindsets. We're talking about actively developing a growth mindset.
So, for listeners who might be thinking, Okay, I think I have a fixed mindset in some areas. The message is that they can shift.
Absolutely. And a crucial element of developing a growth mindset is recognizing the patterns of thought that accompany a fixed mindset. It's about becoming aware of that inner critic that says, you can't do this, or you're not good enough.
Becoming our own detectives, looking for those fixed mindset tells.
Exactly. For instance, someone with a fixed mindset might dismiss criticism, seeing it as a personal attack rather than constructive feedback. They might feel threatened by the success of others, thinking, if they can do it, why can't I? And what does that say about me? Whereas someone with a growth mindset might seek out feedback, understanding it as valuable information for improvement. They might look at someone else's success and think, wow, that's inspiring. How do they achieve that?
That's a really clear distinction. It's about how you interpret information related to your abilities and effort.
Precisely. And it's important to understand that most people aren't 100% fixed or 100% growth. We often have different mindsets in different areas of our lives. You might have a growth mindset about your cooking, for example, but a fixed mindset about your ability to learn new language. The goal isn't to achieve a perfect 100% growth mindset overnight, but to gradually shift towards a more growth-oriented perspective in all areas.
That's comforting to hear. It makes it feel more achievable. So, when we talk about a growth mindset, what are the key ingredients? What makes it tick?
Great question, Lisa. The core components really revolve around valuing the process. First, there's the belief in malleability. This is the fundamental idea that your abilities and intelligence are not set in stone. They can be shaped and developed.
So, my brain is like clay, not a statue?
A perfect analogy. It's impressionable and capable of being molded. The second ingredient is the embrace of challenges. Instead of shying away from difficult tasks, a growth mindset sees them as opportunities to learn and grow. It's about actively seeking out situations that will push your boundaries.
This is where the discomfort happens, but it's a productive discomfort.
Exactly. The third is persistence in the face of setbacks. This means understanding that failure is a part of the learning process. It's not the end of the road, but a detour that provides valuable lessons. You learn, you adapt, and you keep going.
So, you don't just get knocked down and stay down. You see it as a chance to get back up stronger.
Precisely. The fourth key element is the view of effort as the path to mastery. Many people with a fixed mindset believe that if you have to try hard, you must not be naturally good at it. A growth mindset, however, sees effort as essential. It's the engine that drives development and excellence.
It's about putting in the work and knowing that the work itself is what builds your skill.
You've got it. And finally, there's the ability to learn from criticism. Instead of becoming defensive, individuals with a growth mindset seek out and value feedback. They understand that criticism, when constructive, is a vital tool for improvement. They can separate the feedback about their actions or performance from their inherent worth as a person.
So, to recap those 5 core ideas: belief in malleability, embracing challenges, persistence through setbacks, effort as the path to mastery, and learning from criticism. That's a powerful framework.
It truly is. And understanding these components is the first step towards cultivating them within ourselves. Now, why is this so important? Why should we care about developing a growth mindset?
I think we've touched on it, but let's articulate it clearly. It's about unlocking potential, right?
Absolutely. Imagine two people, both with similar starting points, faced with a difficult new skill. One, with a fixed mindset, might see the initial struggle as proof they'll never be good at it and give up. The other, with a growth mindset, sees the struggle as temporary and a necessary part of learning. This person will likely persist, seek help, try different strategies, and eventually master the skill. The difference in outcome is enormous, and it all stems from that underlying belief.
It's about who reaches their potential and who doesn't, purely based on their outlook.
And it's not just about achieving more in terms of skills or accomplishments, though that's a significant benefit. It also impacts our emotional well-being. A growth mindset fosters resilience. When you believe you can grow, setbacks feel less devastating. You're more likely to bounce back from disappointment, adapt to change, and cope with adversity.
That's huge. In a world that's constantly changing and throwing curveballs, that resilience is invaluable.
It really is. Think about the pressure many people feel to appear smart or talented. If you believe your intelligence is fixed, you'll avoid situations where you might expose a perceived weakness. This limits your experiences, your learning, and your growth. A growth mindset liberates you from this pressure. It allows you to be a learner, to be curious, and to be okay with not knowing everything.
It removes the performance anxiety and replaces it with a focus on learning and experience.
Exactly. And this perspective can transform our relationships too. When we understand that people, including ourselves, can change and grow, we're more likely to be supportive and understanding. We're less likely to judge others based on their current abilities and more likely to encourage their development.
So, whether it's in our careers, our personal development, our schooling, or our relationships, embracing a growth mindset seems to be a foundational element for a fulfilling and successful life.
It is. And that's what this entire playbook is about. Equipping you with the tools and understanding to actively cultivate this powerful mindset. We've laid the groundwork today by defining what a growth mindset is and why it's so important, contrasting it with the fixed mindset.
We've explored the key beliefs that underpin it, the malleability of our abilities, the value of challenges, the necessity of persistence, the importance of effort, and the power of feedback. Plus, we've seen how this outlook can lead to greater achievement, resilience, and overall well-being.
You've summarized it perfectly, Lisa. This is just the beginning of our journey. In our next episode, we're going to dive deeper into the trap of the fixed mindset. Understanding its nuances will help us better recognize and dismantle it in our own lives.
I'm looking forward to it. Understanding the pitfalls will make the path forward even clearer.
And that's our goal. So, until next time, reflect on where you might be holding on to a fixed mindset and start to imagine what it would feel like to approach things with a growth perspective.
Thanks for listening. Next episode: The Trap of the Fixed Mindset.
Welcome back to the Growth Mindset Playbook. Last time, we explored what a growth mindset truly is. Now, let's tackle the trap of the fixed mindset.
If the growth mindset is about potential, the fixed mindset sounds like a ceiling on our capabilities. What does that look like in practice?
Someone with a fixed mindset believes their fundamental qualities, like intelligence or talent, are just fixed traits. They think they're either smart or not smart, talented or not talented, with no real room for development.
So, if they see themselves as not good at something, they just accept it and don't think they can improve?
Exactly. This deeply held belief has significant consequences. For them, a challenge isn't seen as an opportunity to learn and grow, but rather as a direct test of their innate ability.
A test they might be afraid of failing then.
Precisely. Because if they fail, it means they aren't inherently good at that thing, confirming their fixed belief. This leads to a powerful fear of failure. They avoid situations that might reveal their perceived limitations.
That makes sense. If you believe you're only as smart as you are right now, you'd shy away from anything that might prove you're not as smart as you thought.
And it's not just about avoiding failure. It's also about how they perceive effort. For someone with a fixed mindset, putting in a lot of effort can feel like a sign of low ability. Why would someone naturally talented need to try hard?
So, if they have to work really hard at something, they might think, I must not be good at this, rather than, I'm working hard to get better at this.
That's the core of it. They might even see the success of others as a threat because it highlights their own perceived lack of talent. Instead of learning from successful people, they feel diminished by them.
It sounds like a really limiting way to view the world and oneself. If you believe your abilities are set in stone, why would you bother pushing yourself?
You wouldn't. You'd likely stick to what you're already good at, avoiding anything that requires learning new skills or developing existing ones. This can lead to a plateau in personal and professional life. We see it in classrooms where students shy away from difficult subjects, or in workplaces where employees avoid new responsibilities.
And what about feedback? How do people with a fixed mindset react when they're told how to improve?
Feedback can be tough. They tend to see criticism, even constructive criticism, as a personal attack on their core abilities. They might get defensive, dismiss the feedback, or feel discouraged. It doesn't fuel their desire to improve, but rather reinforces their belief that they are just not good enough.
It creates a negative loop, doesn't it? You avoid challenges because you fear failure, you don't put in much effort because it signifies lack of talent, and you reject feedback because it feels like an indictment of your fixed nature.
Exactly. And this loop can prevent individuals from reaching their full potential. They might have latent abilities or the capacity for significant growth, but their mindset acts as a self-imposed barrier. It's like having a beautiful garden, but believing you have a black thumb, so you never plant anything.
That's a great analogy. You're essentially sabotaging your own growth before you even start. It's not about what you can do, but what you believe you can do.
And that belief system, as we discussed, is often formed early on and can be quite resistant to change. It can manifest in many ways. For instance, someone might give up easily when faced with an obstacle,
Because giving up is easier than facing the possibility that they're just not cut out for it.
right? They see obstacles as roadblocks rather than detours or learning opportunities. Or they might ignore useful negative information about themselves. If they're told they need to improve in a certain area, they might simply ignore that piece of advice.
So, they're not really learning from their experiences if they're unwilling to acknowledge areas for improvement.
Precisely. They might feel threatened by other success. Instead of an admiration or inspiration, it triggers feelings of inadequacy. They might even go so far as to undermine or belittle the achievements of others to make themselves feel better.
That sounds like a very lonely and unproductive way to live. Always comparing yourself, always feeling inadequate, and never really growing.
It can be. This mindset can also lead to feelings of envy and resentment. Instead of focusing on their own progress, they get caught up in how others seem to have it easier or possess more talent. It distracts them from their own journey.
It's a stark contrast to the growth mindset, where challenges are welcomed, effort is seen as the path to mastery, and setbacks are valuable lessons.
Absolutely. The fixed mindset is characterized by a desire to look smart or talented and a fear of looking incompetent. This preoccupation with appearing capable can overshadow the actual process of learning and developing competence.
So, how do we recognize these fixed mindset tendencies in ourselves and others? Are there specific phrases or behaviors that are red flags?
Great question. Listen for phrases like, I'm just not a math person, I could never do that. It's too hard for me, or I'm not creative. These statements imply a belief in fixed, unchangeable abilities.
And the behaviors would be avoiding difficult tasks, giving up easily, and reacting negatively to criticism.
Yes. Another big one is when people feel threatened by the success of others. They might say things like they just got lucky or it's easy for them because they have connections. It's a way to devalue someone else's achievement to protect their own fragile ego.
So, it's not just about what they say, but also their underlying motivation, the need to prove they are inherently good, rather than the desire to learn and improve.
Exactly. They're focused on performance and validation rather than learning and growth. This can lead them to cheat or take shortcuts to appear capable without actually acquiring the skills.
That's a dangerous path. It builds a reputation on a false foundation.
It really does. And it's often unconscious. People aren't necessarily aware they're operating from a fixed mindset. It's just how they've learned to navigate the world. They develop strategies to protect their self-worth, and these strategies, ironically, hinder their growth.
It's like wearing armor all the time. It protects you, but it also weighs you down and prevents you from moving freely.
A perfect analogy. This armor of fixed beliefs can lead to a life of missed opportunities and a sense of stagnation. It can also contribute to anxiety and stress, as the constant pressure to prove oneself is exhausting.
It's almost easier to embrace the idea that you can grow, even if it's hard, than to constantly defend a fixed image of yourself.
That's where the hope lies. Recognizing these patterns is the first crucial step toward shifting towards a growth mindset. By understanding the limitations of the fixed mindset, we can start to question our own automatic responses and belief systems.
So, for listeners, if you catch yourself thinking, I'm bad at this, or avoiding a task because it feels too difficult, recognize that as a fixed mindset signal.
Precisely. It's a signal, not a sentence. It's an invitation to pause and ask, what if I could learn this? What if effort could make a difference? The fixed mindset tells you that your abilities are static, but the truth, supported by science, is that our brains are far more adaptable than we often believe.
And that's a fantastic segue into our next topic, where we'll start building that adaptable brain. Last time we introduced the concept of a growth mindset. Today, we've explored the detrimental effects of the fixed mindset. We've seen how it leads to a fear of challenges, a devaluation of effort, defensiveness towards criticism, and a sense of threat from others' success. It's a mindset that prioritizes looking smart over learning, ultimately limiting potential.
Now, we're ready to understand how our brains actually work to support growth. We'll be exploring the incredible concept of neuroplasticity.
That sounds like a powerful tool for change.
It truly is. Thanks for listening. Welcome back. Last time, we explored the differences between fixed and growth mindsets.
Today, we're diving into how embracing challenges fuels our growth. Challenges aren't hurdles, they're opportunities to build our capabilities.
Think about building muscle. You need to lift heavier weights to get stronger, right? Challenges are like those heavier weights for your brain. They push you beyond your current limits, encouraging the development of new mental pathways.
So, it's not about avoiding difficulty, but actively seeking it out? That goes against our natural inclination to stay comfortable.
Exactly. When you're comfortable, you're not growing. True expansion happens when we step outside that zone of comfort. Challenges become stepping stones, not roadblocks.
And overcoming them feels good. It's an accomplishment that builds confidence.
Absolutely. Psychologically, this process strengthens us. When we encounter a new skill or a tough problem, a growth mindset allows us to lean in, seeing it as a chance to learn rather than a sign of our limitations.
How do we shift from feeling overwhelmed to seeing a challenge as an opportunity?
It starts with self-awareness. Notice your initial reaction. Is it dread or excitement? Then, consciously reframe your thoughts. A simple reminder like this is hard, so I will learn the most, can make a difference.
What if a challenge feels too big to even start?
Break it down. No one eats an entire meal in one bite. Tackle large tasks by identifying the smallest, most achievable step you can take right now. Each small success builds momentum.
That makes it feel much more manageable. Focusing on the next step on the trail, not the entire mountain.
Precisely. And each small victory reinforces your belief in your ability to progress, even when things are difficult. You also identify where you need more information or support, creating more learning opportunities.
It's like a learning treasure hunt. What about the fear of failure that often accompanies challenges?
Failure, in a growth mindset, is feedback. It's data, not a definitive judgment. It shows you what didn't work, prompting you to try a different approach. Without experiments that don't succeed, How would we discover the ones that do?
So instead of I failed, I can't do this, it's that didn't work. What can I learn to change my strategy?
Exactly. Think of inventors. They didn't succeed on their first try. They found myriad ways that didn't work before finding what did. Each unsuccessful attempt was a step closer to the solution.
That perspective makes challenges and potential failures seem much less daunting. It builds resilience.
This resilience isn't just about bouncing back. It's about bouncing forward stronger. Consistent effort in the face of difficulty builds a powerful belief in your own capabilities.
It creates a positive cycle. The more you try, the more you learn, the more confident you become in tackling even bigger challenges.
That's the virtuous cycle of growth. It celebrates effort and learning, viewing every challenge as a chance to become more capable and competent.
Like training for a marathon. Each run, even the tough ones, builds the endurance needed for the race. It builds mental fortitude alongside physical strength.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's about learning to push past perceived limits in all areas of life.
So, to summarize, challenges are essential for growth, not obstacles to be avoided. A growth mindset helps us reframe difficulty as opportunity. We can break down large tasks and view setbacks as valuable feedback.
By actively seeking challenges and learning from the process, we build resilience, confidence, and a deep capacity to learn and achieve.
It's about embracing the struggle because we understand it leads to becoming stronger, wiser, and more accomplished.
That's the heart of embracing the climb.
Indeed. Go out and find a challenge that stretches you today.
Next time, we'll explore the gift of failure and how to learn from setbacks. Next episode, Failure's Gift, Learning from Setbacks. Welcome back to the Growth Mindset Playbook. Last time, we explored the exhilarating experience of embracing challenges. Now, what happens when, despite our best efforts, things don't go as planned? What happens when we encounter what we might call failure?
That's a great question, Alex. Because let's be honest, failure is a part of life, isn't it? We all experience setbacks, moments where we fall short of our goals. And for many people, particularly those with a fixed mindset, these moments can be devastating. They can feel like a definitive statement about their abilities, a reason to give up.
Absolutely. A fixed mindset sees failure as proof of a lack of talent or intelligence. But with a growth mindset, failure isn't an endpoint. It's a detour, a valuable lesson. It's an inevitable and often crucial part of the learning process.
So, how do we shift our perspective to see failure not as a judgment, but as feedback? I think the key is in how we define it. Instead of calling it failure, we can think of it as learning. It's a subtle shift in language, but it has a huge impact on our emotional response and our willingness to learn from the experience.
Exactly. Think about a baby learning to walk. They fall down. A lot. Do we tell them, "Oh, you're just not cut out for walking"? Of course not. We encourage them, they get back up, and they try again. They haven't failed. They're simply in the process of learning a complex motor skill. Each fall is feedback for their brain and body. What works, what doesn't.
That's a perfect analogy. And it's that same process we need to apply to ourselves as adults, no matter what we're trying to achieve. When we encounter a setback, instead of beating ourselves up, we should analyze it. What went wrong? What can I do differently next time?
This is where the phrase failure's gift really comes into play. Setbacks offer invaluable insights that success often hides. Success can sometimes lull us into a false sense of security. But when something doesn't work, it forces us to pause, to reflect, and to identify the learning opportunities.
So, it's about asking diagnostic questions, right? Instead of saying, I'm a failure, we ask, What specific aspect of my approach needs adjustment? Was it the strategy? Was it the execution? This turns a potentially demoralizing event into a problem-solving exercise.
Precisely. It's about moving from an emotional response to an analytical one. And this analytical approach is what fuels continuous improvement. If you're building a house and a wall doesn't stand up straight, you don't abandon the project. You figure out why that wall is leaning, then you fix it and move on.
And this is so important because a growth mindset isn't about being perfect. It's about embracing the journey of becoming better, and that journey is paved with experiences, both positive and negative. It's about understanding that effort and strategy are the drivers of progress, not just innate talent.
Let's delve a bit deeper into reframing. When we use the word failure, it carries such negative weight. It implies finality. But if we reframe it as a learning opportunity or an experiment, the emotional charge lessens considerably. These new labels invite curiosity and a willingness to explore rather than shame and avoidance.
I think for many people, the fear of looking foolish or incompetent is a huge barrier. They'd rather not try something challenging if there's a risk of not succeeding. But by embracing the idea that setbacks are part of the learning process, we can start to normalize them. We can see them as badges of honor, proof that we're pushing our boundaries.
This ties directly back to our discussion on challenges. Remember how we said challenges are opportunities to learn and grow? Well, sometimes the outcome of tackling a challenge isn't immediate success. It's a setback. And that setback, when viewed through a growth mindset lens, becomes the very fuel for future success. It teaches us resilience.
Resilience. That's such a critical word here. It's the ability to bounce back, to not be defined by a single negative event. And a growth mindset builds that resilience. It teaches us that our capabilities aren't fixed. If something didn't work, it doesn't mean we are incapable. It means our current approach needs refinement.
Imagine you're trying to master a difficult piece of music. You hit a wrong note. You stumble over a passage. Do you quit the piano? No. You identify the tricky part. You practice that specific section repeatedly. You learn from the wrong note, and it becomes an opportunity to perfect that transition. This is failure's gift in action.
It's about depersonalizing the setback. It's not, I failed. It's this attempt didn't yield the desired result. This removes the self-criticism and opens the door for objective analysis. So, what are some concrete ways people can start practicing this reframing in their daily lives?
One powerful technique is to ask yourself, what did I learn from this? This question forces you to look for the positive, the lesson, even in a difficult situation. It shifts your focus from the sting of the outcome to the value of the experience. Another is to identify the specific steps that led to the setback. Was it a particular decision? A lack of preparation? This helps you to be more strategic next time.
So, rather than dwelling on the feeling of disappointment, you're actively dissecting the cause and identifying actionable steps for improvement. It's like taking apart a machine to understand how it works, even when it breaks.
Exactly. And it's crucial to understand that this isn't about pretending setbacks aren't painful. They can be, but a growth mindset allows us to process that pain constructively. We acknowledge the emotion, but we don't let it paralyze us. We use it as motivation to understand and improve.
This is so different from a fixed mindset, where a mistake might lead to hiding it or becoming defensive. With a growth mindset, we're encouraged to be transparent about our learning process, and that can foster a more supportive environment, both for ourselves and for others.
That's a fantastic point. When we embrace setbacks as learning opportunities, we become more courageous. We're more willing to take risks, to try new things, because we know that even if we don't succeed immediately, we will gain valuable knowledge. This is how true innovation and significant progress happen.
Think about scientific discovery. How many experiments fail before one leads to a breakthrough? Scientists don't see those failed experiments as definitive proof of their inadequacy. They see them as data points. Each failed experiment rules out certain possibilities and brings them closer to the correct answer.
Yes, It's a process of elimination, driven by continuous learning. And this concept of learning from setbacks is not just about professional or academic pursuits. It applies to our relationships, our personal development, our health, everything. Every challenge we face, and every time we don't quite hit the mark, is an opportunity to understand ourselves and our world better.
So, to recap what we've discussed for our listeners, we've established that setbacks and what we commonly call failure are inevitable parts of life. A fixed mindset views these moments as proof of inadequacy and a reason to stop trying.
But a growth mindset reframes these experiences entirely. We see them not as failures, but as powerful learning opportunities. This shift in perspective, moving from I failed to what did I learn, allows us to analyze what went wrong, adjust our strategies, and build resilience.
By depersonalizing setbacks and asking diagnostic questions, we turn a potentially demoralizing event into a problem-solving exercise. This analytical approach is the engine of continuous improvement, helping us to become more courageous and innovative.
So, remember, next time you encounter a roadblock, don't see it as a dead end. See it as a signpost, pointing you in a new direction or highlighting an area you need to strengthen. Failure's gift is knowledge, and it's waiting for you to unwrap it.
This is such a vital aspect of cultivating a growth mindset. It's about building the emotional fortitude to face difficulties and the intellectual curiosity to learn from them.
It truly is, and it's a skill that can be developed with practice. By consistently reframing our setbacks, we rewire our brains to see challenges and potential failures as stepping stones, not stumbling blocks.
And that courage to step onto those stones, knowing we might stumble but will certainly learn, is what allows us to keep growing and evolving.
Well said, Lisa. And this leads us perfectly into our next episode. We've talked about embracing challenges and learning from setbacks. Now, we're going to dive into something that sounds simple but has profound implications for fostering this growth: the power of praise. Specifically, we'll explore the paradox of praising effort over innate talent.
Ooh, I'm already intrigued. How we praise can inadvertently reinforce a fixed mindset, can it? I'm looking forward to unpacking that.
It's a fascinating topic. So join us next time for episode 5, The Praising Paradox, Effort Over Talent. Thanks for listening. Welcome back. Last time we covered how challenges and failure fuel growth. Now let's tackle how praise shapes our mindset.
Today, we're exploring the praising paradox, why focusing on effort is more powerful than praising talent. It sounds simple, but our words have a profound impact.
When we praise talent, saying you're smart or you're naturally gifted, it feels good. But this can reinforce a fixed mindset. If you believe you're just smart, struggling with something new can feel like proof you're not.
So, instead of encouraging exploration, it subtly urges people to protect their talent, label, and avoid challenges. This creates a fragile sense of self-worth.
Precisely. Imagine a child getting an A and being called a math genius. If they then get a C on a harder test, they might think they aren't a genius after all and become discouraged.
That's a powerful illustration. So, what's the alternative? How should we praise?
We shift focus to effort, strategy, persistence, and improvement. Instead of you're so smart, say, I love how hard you worked, or you really stuck with that problem, or that was a clever way to approach it. These emphasize the process.
So, it's acknowledging the journey of learning and trying, not just the outcome or an assumed initial ability.
Correct. Praising effort sends a clear message. Hard work pays off, persistence leads to success, and challenges are learning opportunities. This nurtures a growth mindset, showing that abilities develop through dedication.
This changes how people view mistakes. A mistake becomes part of the learning process, not a failure of being inherently smart or talented.
Absolutely. And it applies to adults too. Praising a presenter's research and organization, rather than just calling them a natural, acknowledges their hard work and effective strategies.
That would likely motivate them to maintain that thoroughness for future projects. It tells them what to continue doing.
Exactly. And it highlights strategy. Praising. You broke down that complex task into smaller steps. That was a smart approach. Encourages critical thinking about how they work.
So, good job becomes good job because you did X, Y, and Z, with X, Y, and Z being actionable steps.
Yes, being specific. Vague praise is less effective. Specific praise about effort, strategy, learning, and progress makes the message concrete and actionable.
This can also help us identify our own developed strengths. If I'm praised for consistent strategic thinking, I recognize it as a skill to hone.
It builds self-awareness and resilience. When people are praised for effort and progress, they learn they can overcome difficulties and develop agency. The belief they can influence outcomes.
So, the praising paradox. Praising talent traps people in a fixed mindset. Praising effort, strategy, and progress fosters a growth mindset, encouraging challenges and continuous learning.
That's a perfect summary. It's not about ignoring strengths, but framing them correctly. We can acknowledge a knack for languages, but emphasize the practice and vocabulary expansion that led to fluency.
This also means we need to be mindful of our self-talk. What we say to ourselves internally matters just as much.
Precisely. Instead of, I'm so smart after an accomplishment, try, I'm glad I persevered, or that strategy paid off, or I learn a lot. This internal dialogue cultivates your growth mindset.
It's shifting the internal narrative from being fixed to being a dynamic learner. How can listeners start implementing this today?
Observe the praise you give and receive. Before praising, ask yourself, talent or effort/process. Rephrase praise. Instead of, you're a natural, try, you're working hard, and it's showing. If praise for talent, gently steer towards your effort or strategies.
And for ourselves, when facing a challenge, ask, what can I learn from this? Or how can I try a different approach? Instead of, I'm not good at this.
Exactly. It's retraining our brains and language to focus on growth. A fixed mindset sees setbacks as inadequacy. A growth mindset sees them as improvement springboards. Praising effort nurtures this.
It's a sustainable, empowering way to approach learning. Effort leads to improvement, which leads to more effort and a deeper love of learning.
The goal is to foster a growth mindset by acknowledging effort, strategies, and learning, making the path to mastery about dedication, not just innate gifts.
To recap, praising talent can create a fixed mindset. Praising effort, strategies, and progress celebrates the process and empowers individuals with a growth mindset.
Well said. This foundation is crucial. Next, we'll explore the science behind brain changes, neuroplasticity.
Next episode, Your Brain is a Muscle, an introduction to neuroplasticity.
Welcome back to the Growth Mindset Playbook. Last time, we explored the power of praising effort over talent. Today, we're diving into a topic that's fundamental to understanding why a growth mindset is even possible. We're going to explore how your brain itself is designed to change, grow, and adapt. Get ready to discover the amazing concept of neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity. It sounds so scientific, but I'm really excited to connect this to what we've been talking about. If our mindset is about believing we can grow, then understanding that our brain can actually grow makes that belief so much more concrete.
Exactly, Lisa. For a long time, The prevailing scientific view was that the adult brain was pretty much fixed. Once you reached a certain age, the thinking went your brain structure and capabilities were set in stone. You were born with a certain amount of brain power, and that was that.
Oh, that's a completely fixed mindset view of our brains. I'm just not good at math, or I'm too old to learn a new language. Those statements seem to align with that old idea that your brain is static.
You've hit the nail on the head. But thankfully, scientific research has shown us something far more fascinating and hopeful. Our brains are incredibly dynamic. They are constantly changing and reorganizing themselves throughout our entire lives. This ongoing ability of the brain to change is what we call neuroplasticity.
So, neuroplasticity is basically our brain's ability to rewire itself, like a city building new roads or updating its infrastructure.
That's a fantastic analogy, Lisa. Think of your brain as a complex, ever-evolving network of roads. Every time you learn something new, practice a skill, or have a new experience, you're essentially creating new pathways or strengthening existing ones. The more you use a particular pathway, the stronger and more efficient it becomes.
That's so powerful. So, when we were talking about effort and challenges, we weren't just talking about our psychological state, but about literally changing our brain's physical structure?
Precisely. When you push yourself to learn something difficult, you're not just building mental resilience. You're engaging in the physical process of neuroplasticity. Your brain cells, called neurons, communicate with each other through connections called synapses. Learning and experience strengthen these synapses. They can even form new synapses and, in some cases, even create new neurons.
New neurons? So, we can literally grow more brain cells? I always thought you were born with all the brain cells you'd ever have.
That's another common misconception that neuroplasticity has helped to debunk. While it's true that we are born with a vast number of neurons, the brain's ability to adapt means it can actually generate new neurons in certain areas, a process called neurogenesis, and it's particularly influenced by learning and experiences. But the more significant aspect for daily life is the strengthening and weakening of those existing synaptic connections.
Okay, let's break that down a bit. Synapses are like the bridges between brain cells, right? And neuroplasticity is like expanding those bridges or building new ones when we learn something.
Exactly. Imagine your brain is a forest. When you first walk through it, you might have to push through thick brush. That's like a difficult new task. But if you walk that same path every day, you create a well-worn trail. That trail becomes easier to navigate. In brain terms, this well-worn trail represents those strengthened neural pathways. The more you practice a skill or recall a memory, the more robust the connection becomes.
And what happens if we stop using a pathway? Does it shrink or fade away?
That's the flip side of neuroplasticity, and it's equally important. Pathways that aren't used tend to weaken. It's the concept of use it or lose it. This is why consistent effort is so crucial. If you learn a new language but then don't practice it for years, those language pathways in your brain will become less efficient.
So, it's not just about building new skills, but about maintaining the ones we have through consistent use. This makes so much sense with the idea of lifelong learning that we'll be exploring later in the series.
Absolutely. And neuroplasticity isn't just about learning academic subjects or new job skills. It applies to everything we do, our habits, our emotions, our behaviors, and even our physical coordination. For instance, learning to play a musical instrument or a sport involves massive rewiring of the brain for motor skills and auditory processing. Even something like learning to manage your stress or to be more patient involves rewiring those emotional and behavioral pathways.
It's like our brain is constantly trying to become more efficient at whatever we're doing. If we're spending a lot of time practicing mindfulness, our brain becomes more mindful. If we're engaging in negative self-talk, our brain becomes more efficient at negative self-talk. That's a bit scary, but also incredibly empowering.
That's the duality, isn't it? It's a mirror of our actions and thoughts. The good news is because the brain is plastic, we can actively choose to rewire it in more positive and productive directions. This is where the growth mindset truly meets the science. A growth mindset is the belief and the intention to grow, and neuroplasticity is the mechanism that makes that growth possible.
So, if I've been stuck in a fixed mindset for years and my brain has developed pathways that reinforce that I can't do this thinking, neuroplasticity tells me I can actually change those pathways. It's not inherent to who I am.
Precisely. You're not stuck with your current brain wiring. Just like driving the same route every day can make you an expert at that route. Constantly engaging in growth-oriented thinking, seeking challenges, and learning from mistakes will physically change your brain to make those actions easier and more natural.
This reminds me of learning to ride a bike. Initially, it's wobbly, scary, and you fall a lot. But with practice, your brain figures it out. The coordination, the balance, it all becomes automatic. I never thought of that as brain change before, but it absolutely is.
That's a perfect example. Your brain is constantly adapting to the demands you place on it. If you consistently place demands on it to learn, to overcome obstacles, and to adapt, it will respond by becoming more capable. It's the brain's inherent plasticity that allows us to learn to ride that bike, to learn a new language, or to develop a new skill at any age.
So, what are the key ways our brain changes through neuroplasticity? You mentioned strengthening synapses. Are there other critical aspects we should know?
Yes, there are a few key mechanisms. We've talked about synaptic plasticity, which is the strengthening or weakening of connections between neurons. There's also structural plasticity, where the physical structure of the brain changes. This can involve growing new dendritic spines, which are like branches on a neuron that receive signals, or even neurogenesis, the creation of new neurons. And then there's functional plasticity, where one area of the brain can take over the function of another if needed, though this is more common in cases of injury.
That's a lot to take in. Synaptic plasticity, structural plasticity, functional plasticity. But the core message is that the brain is not fixed. It's pliable. It's built to change.
That's the fundamental takeaway. And it's why embracing challenges, as we discussed in episode 3, is so vital. When you accept a challenge, you're actively engaging your brain in new ways, promoting the formation of new and stronger neural pathways. Conversely, avoiding challenges can lead to those pathways becoming weaker, making it harder to tackle similar situations in the future.
It's like building a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it gets. If you want a strong bicep, you lift weights. If you want a strong, adaptable brain, you embrace challenges and learning.
Beautifully put. And it's not just about the intensity of the effort, but the consistency. Think about building that muscle. You don't get strong by lifting weights once a month. You build strength through regular, consistent exercise. The same applies to your brain. Consistent learning, consistent effort, and consistent engagement with growth-oriented activities are what cultivate neuroplasticity.
This makes me think about how we react to mistakes or failures. In the past, a failure might have made me think, see, I'm not good at this. My brain just can't handle it. But now, understanding neuroplasticity, I can see it differently. A mistake is just feedback. It's information that helps my brain recalibrate.
Exactly. A setback isn't proof of your limitations. It's an opportunity for your brain to learn and forge new, more successful pathways. When you make a mistake, your brain registers that something didn't work. It can then adjust its approach, strengthening connections that are more effective and weakening those that led to the error. This is the true gift of failure when viewed through a growth mindset lens supported by neuroplasticity.
So, every time we encounter something difficult, whether it's a tricky problem at work, learning a new recipe, or even trying to have a difficult conversation, our brain is actually undergoing these changes. It's not just a mental event, it's a physical, biological event.
Absolutely. And this biological reality of neuroplasticity provides the scientific bedrock for the principles of the growth mindset. It's not merely hopeful philosophy. It's rooted in the demonstrable ability of our brains to change and grow. This understanding can be incredibly motivating when facing difficult tasks. You can remind yourself, this is hard right now, but my brain is changing and getting better at this with every attempt.
It's like giving your brain permission to learn and adapt. And by doing so, you're actually facilitating that process. It's a beautiful feedback loop.
It truly is. And it's important to remember that neuroplasticity isn't about becoming a genius overnight. It's a gradual process. Consistent, focused effort over time is what leads to significant and lasting change. So, don't get discouraged if you don't see results immediately. Trust the process, the biological process of your brain adapting.
This concept of neuroplasticity is so fundamental. We've talked about the mindset and believing in growth. Now, we understand that the very structure of our brain supports this belief. It's not magic, it's biology.
Precisely. Our brains are not static machines. They are living, dynamic organs that are constantly being shaped by our experiences. This is the essence of neuroplasticity. It means that change is always possible. It means that your current abilities are not your final destination.
So, to recap what we've discussed, neuroplasticity is our brain's incredible ability to change and reorganize itself throughout our lives. This happens through strengthening and weakening of the connections between brain cells, called synapses, and even in some cases, the creation of new neurons. Every time we learn, practice, or experience something new, we are actively rewiring our brains. This provides the scientific explanation for why a growth mindset, which emphasizes effort and learning, is so effective. Our brains are like muscles that get stronger with use and can adapt to new challenges.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. Understanding neuroplasticity reassures us that our brains are inherently capable of growth. It shifts the focus from what I am to what I can become through conscious effort and learning. It's the tangible evidence that the growth mindset isn't just a nice idea, but a biologically supported reality.
This is truly mind-opening. It gives us a scientific reason to embrace challenges and to keep pushing ourselves, knowing that our brain is literally changing and improving with every effort.
And that understanding naturally leads us to the next step. How do we actively harness this power? In our next episode, we'll start building your growth mindset toolkit. We'll explore practical, daily practices that can help you foster neuroplasticity and cultivate a truly growth-oriented brain.
I can't wait. So, for listeners looking to actively engage with their own brain's remarkable capacity for change, this episode has laid the crucial groundwork.
Indeed, it has, and we'll build on it. Next episode, building your growth mindset toolkit, daily practices. Welcome back. Last time, we explored the incredible science behind neuroplasticity.
Absolutely, Alex. Knowing our brains can develop is so empowering and provides the foundation for everything.
Exactly. And today, we're moving from the why to the how. We're diving into building your very own growth mindset toolkit. This episode is all about actionable daily practices to cultivate that growth mindset.
I love that. Practical tools are exactly what we need. Where do we begin?
We begin with conscious self-reflection. Think of it as checking in with yourself daily. It's about noticing your thoughts, your reactions, and your beliefs, especially when you encounter challenges.
So, it's not just about going through the day, but being aware of how you're going through it?
Precisely. This self-reflection isn't about judgment. It's about observation. You might ask yourself, how did I react to that difficult task today? By simply noticing these patterns, you start to gain insight into whether you're leaning towards fixed or growth-oriented thinking.
That makes sense. If I notice I'm thinking, oh, I'm just not good at this, then the reflection itself highlights that fixed mindset thought.
Exactly. And the next step, building on that reflection, is what we call growth-oriented self-talk. This isn't about just saying everything's fine. It's about reframing those fixed mindset thoughts.
Ah, so when your reflection reveals a fixed mindset thought like, I can't do this, instead of stopping there, you actively change it?
Yes, instead of I can't do this, you might reframe it to I can't do this yet. Or this is too hard becomes this is challenging and I can learn strategies to overcome it. It's about introducing the idea of effort, learning, and progress.
I can see how that yet can be so powerful. It implies that improvement is possible.
It's all about introducing possibility. Another key practice here is focusing on the process and effort rather than just the outcome. Remember when we talked about the praising paradox? This is where that comes into play daily.
Right. Praising effort cultivates the belief that abilities can be developed. So, even when things don't go perfectly, we can still acknowledge the hard work.
Exactly. So, in your daily reflections, intentionally look for instances where you put in effort. Celebrate that effort. Acknowledge the strategies you tried, the persistence you showed. This reinforces the idea that your actions and dedication matter more than innate talent.
So, it's about shifting the focus from am I smart enough to am I putting in the work and learning along the way?
You've got it. And this naturally leads us to another vital tool, actively seeking learning opportunities. With a growth mindset, every experience is a chance to learn and grow.
This sounds like it could be anything from reading a book to tackling a situation you've always avoided.
Precisely. It means intentionally putting yourself in situations where you'll be challenged. It means asking questions, seeking feedback, and being curious. Instead of shying away from something new or difficult, approach it with a mindset of what can I learn here?
So, if an opportunity arises that feels a bit beyond my current skill level, my growth mindset response is to lean into it rather than pull away?
That's the goal. It's about viewing challenges not as roadblocks, but as stepping stones. And often, this involves seeking out information. Read articles, listen to podcasts like this one. Make learning a continuous, active pursuit.
It's almost like creating a personal learning diet.
That's a great analogy. A learning diet for your brain. Another incredibly powerful practice is embracing constructive feedback. For someone with a fixed mindset, feedback can feel like a personal attack.
Oh, I can definitely relate to that feeling. It's hard to hear criticism.
It can be, but for a growth mindset, feedback is information. It's data that helps you improve. So, the practice here is to actively solicit feedback and then listen to it with an open mind. Ask yourself, what is this person trying to tell me that could help me get better?
So, instead of getting defensive, I should be asking, how can I use this to grow?
Exactly. And when you receive feedback, thank the person who shared it. Acknowledge their willingness to share. Then, take some time to process it. You don't have to agree with every piece of feedback, but you should consider its validity and how it can inform your learning journey.
This is starting to sound like a really fulfilling way to live, Alex. It's about constantly evolving and improving.
It truly is. And to make these practices stick, consistency is key. These aren't one-off activities. They are daily habits. Think about weaving them into your routine. Maybe it's a 5-minute reflection before bed. Maybe it's actively seeking out a learning opportunity during your lunch break.
So, like making it a non-negotiable part of your day, just like brushing your teeth?
That's a fantastic way to think about it. And to really cement these practices, I highly recommend keeping a mindset journal. We'll actually dive deeper into this in a later episode, but for now, consider it another essential tool.
A journal? How does that fit into the daily toolkit?
In your journal, you can document your self-reflections, your reframed thoughts, the efforts you're proud of, the learning opportunities you seized, and the feedback you received. Writing things down makes them more concrete. It allows you to track your progress over time and identify areas where you might still be slipping into fixed mindset patterns.
So, the journal acts as a record and a roadmap for your growth.
Precisely. It's your personal growth log. And remember that neuroplasticity we discussed? These daily practices are actively rewiring your brain. Every time you choose a growth-oriented thought or action, you're strengthening those neural pathways. You're literally building a more resilient, capable, and growth-minded brain.
It's like exercising a muscle. The more you use it in a certain way, the stronger it becomes. So, to recap our toolkit so far: conscious self-reflection, growth-oriented self-talk, focusing on effort and process over outcome, actively seeking learning opportunities, embracing constructive feedback, and using a mindset journal. That's a solid set of tools.
It really is. And the beauty of these tools is that they are accessible to everyone, everywhere. They don't require special equipment or a lot of time. They require intention and a commitment to your own development.
And it's about starting small and being kind to yourself in the process. Growth isn't always linear.
Absolutely. There will be days when you fall back into old patterns. That's okay. The key is to notice it, not to dwell on it, and then to re-engage with your growth mindset practices. The fact that you're aware of it and striving to do better is a growth mindset victory in itself.
This has been incredibly helpful, Alex. It's one thing to hear about a growth mindset, but another to have concrete steps to cultivate it. I feel equipped to start practicing these today.
That's exactly the intention. Remember, building a growth mindset is a journey, not a destination. These daily practices are your companions on that journey, helping you navigate challenges, learn from experiences, and constantly become a more capable and resilient version of yourself.
So, if you've been inspired by the idea of neuroplasticity and the power of a growth mindset, start by implementing these tangible daily habits. Reflect on your thoughts, reframe your inner dialogue, focus on your effort, seek out learning, embrace feedback, and consider journaling your journey. These are the building blocks.
Exactly. And as you build these foundational practices, you'll find that they naturally start to extend into other areas of your life. Next episode, we're going to explore how this growth mindset translates into one of the most challenging and rewarding roles, parenting. We'll be talking about nurturing little learners.
That sounds like a fantastic topic, building on everything we've learned. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back. Last time we covered daily habits for your own growth mindset. Now, we're nurturing these principles in the little learners in our lives.
Parenting offers a huge opportunity to instill resilience and a love of learning. How do we apply growth mindset principles, embracing challenges, learning from failure, focusing on effort, to raising children?
The core ideas transfer well. Remember that our brains change and grow with effort. This applies directly to children. Their brains are highly adaptable.
So, it's about developing abilities, not having fixed ones. Like a muscle, their brain gets stronger with use and trying new things.
Exactly. The first step is how we praise them. We know praising effort and process is better than praising talent. This is crucial for kids. Instead of "you're so smart," which can lead to a fixed mindset, focus on their actions.
So, if a child solves a hard math problem, instead of "you're a math genius," say, "you worked hard on that problem. I saw you try different ways, and you didn't give up."
Perfectly said. That praise acknowledges the process and effort, not just the outcome or a perceived trait. Praising smartness links their value to intelligence. If they struggle, they think they aren't smart, leading them to avoid challenges. Praising effort shows them hard work leads to success, which is empowering.
That makes sense. It validates their work and perseverance, not just raw ability. This leads to how we handle setbacks, a common occurrence for kids.
Children will stumble, fail, and get frustrated. Our role is to reframe these not as disasters, but as learning opportunities. Imagine a child learning to ride a bike. They will fall. If we say, "you're just not coordinated enough," That's a fixed mindset message.
But if we say, falling is part of learning to ride a bike, what did you notice when you wobbled? What can you try differently next time to keep your balance? We are guiding them toward problem solving.
Precisely. We help them see failure as information. It tells us what didn't work, so we can adjust. This cultivates resilience. Resilience isn't never falling, it's getting back up, learning, and trying again. By encouraging this, we teach them setbacks are temporary and surmountable.
So, it's about fostering yet. If a child says, I can't do this, we can add, you can't do this yet. That tiny word signals that mastery is achievable with effort.
The power of yet is incredible. It shifts focus from permanent inability to a phase of development. It implies progress is expected. This also ties into how we approach challenges. Children need to see challenges as growth opportunities, not things to avoid.
How can we actively encourage them to embrace challenges?
By creating an environment where tackling difficulty is positive. Encourage trying new things, like a sport or puzzle, even if they aren't immediately good. Frame these as exciting learning adventures. Let's try this new trail. It might be tough, but imagine the view from the top when we conquer it.
That's a great analogy. Focus on the journey and growth from effort, not just the ease of the path. What about when they compare themselves to others? That's a big one for kids.
Comparison can trigger fixed mindset thinking. When a child sees a peer excelling, they might think they're just naturally better, which kills motivation. Our role is to gently redirect that comparison.
How do we do that?
Bring the focus back to their own journey. Instead of dwelling on others, encourage reflection on their own progress. Remember how hard you found X when you started? Look how much you've improved. That's because you practiced. Emphasize their personal growth. It's about competing with yourself.
So, celebrate their milestones and acknowledge their past struggles and current efforts. Build self-awareness of their own development.
Exactly. And we model this. Children learn by watching. If we approach our own challenges with a growth mindset, talk about our efforts and how we learn from mistakes, they internalize it. When we say, I'm finding this recipe tricky, but I'm determined, or I made a mistake on that report, but I'll learn, we demonstrate a growth mindset in action.
That's so important. Being a role model. It's not just telling them, but showing them. Does the approach change for different age groups?
Core principles remain, but language and activities adapt. For very young children, it's enthusiastic encouragement and celebrating any attempt. Stacking blocks, drawing, dressing themselves become opportunities. Praise effort and concentration.
So, with toddlers, it's a play-based environment encouraging exploration and persistence.
Precisely. As they get older, into elementary school, we can introduce more explicit conversations about effort and challenges. Puzzles, games, and creative projects work well. Ask questions like, what made that harder than you expected? Or what strategy did you use?
And for teenagers, it's about preparing them for complex challenges, academic pressure, social dynamics, future goals. They can understand concepts like brain change with effort and apply strategies.
Yes, for teenagers, it's empowering them to own their learning and development. They can journal, identify triggers, and reframe. We can have mature conversations about how effort can lead to achieving goals, like acing an exam or mastering a skill.
It sounds like consistency is key across all age groups.
Absolutely. It's a marathon. Building a growth mindset is ongoing. It's weaving principles into daily life. Think of tending a garden. You don't just plant a seed, you water, weed, and nurture its growth. Our children's mindsets are similar.
That's a wonderful analogy. Nurturing their minds with care. So, to recap, when fostering a growth mindset in children, praise effort and process, not talent. Help them view mistakes and setbacks as learning opportunities and understand challenges are paths to growth.
Encourage them to embrace challenges as adventures and focus on their own progress, not comparisons. And crucially, model these behaviors. By consistently applying these, we help children develop resilience, a love for learning, and the confidence to tackle anything. They become empowered, lifelong learners.
It's about equipping them to navigate life's complexities with a positive, adaptable outlook. These skills serve them well in school and beyond.
Indeed, and these principles are powerful in another arena. That's what we'll explore next.
So, after nurturing our little learners, we'll bring this growth mindset playbook into the professional world. How can individuals and organizations cultivate growth mindset for success and innovation?
It's a fascinating topic, so join us for episode 9, Growing at Work, the Growth Mindset in the Workplace.
We'll see you then.
Welcome back to the Growth Mindset Playbook. Last time, we explored how to nurture growth in little learners, focusing on parenting. Today, we're shifting our attention to a place where growth is essential, the workplace. We'll discuss how to cultivate a growth mindset in our professional lives, embrace challenges, and advance our careers.
That's right, Alex. We've built a strong foundation of what growth mindset is and how to apply it. Now, it's time to bring that powerful learning approach into our jobs. Work takes up a huge chunk of our lives, so transforming our mindset there can have a massive impact.
Absolutely. Workplaces that foster a growth mindset are typically more innovative, have higher employee engagement, and are better equipped to handle inevitable challenges. It's not just about individual development. It's about creating a thriving ecosystem.
So, where do we start when applying growth mindset at work? It can feel different than personal growth or parenting, with colleagues, bosses, and deadlines.
The core principles remain the same. The first step is recognizing that our jobs are fantastic opportunities for learning and development, not just places where we perform tasks. We need to shift our perspective. Instead of seeing a new project as a threat to our competence, we should see it as a chance to expand our skills. This is our growth mindset toolkit in a new context.
So, it's about embracing challenges with curiosity rather than dread. Instead of thinking, I don't know if I can do this, we reframe it to, this is new, and I can learn how.
Exactly. And this ties directly into how we handle feedback. In a fixed mindset environment, feedback can feel like a personal indictment. But with a growth mindset, feedback becomes invaluable data. It's information about what we can improve.
I love that way of thinking about feedback. It's not about judgment, it's about guidance. Imagine feedback like a map showing you where there might be a detour so you can adjust your route.
A great analogy, Lisa, and it's crucial to remember how our brains are literally capable of forming new connections and growing stronger with effort and practice. This applies to learning new software or mastering a presentation skill. Our brains are constantly being rewired by our experiences.
So, for someone feeling stuck in their career or dreads performance reviews, the key is to start reframing. When feedback comes in, instead of getting discouraged, try to see it as an opportunity. Ask yourself, what can I learn? What actions can I take to improve?
Precisely. And this leads to creating a learning culture within the workplace. A manager with a growth mindset doesn't just assign tasks. They foster an environment where employees feel safe to take on new challenges and learn from mistakes. This is how companies truly innovate.
That sounds like a dream workplace. But how can individuals, even those who aren't managers, contribute to fostering this kind of learning culture?
Great question. It starts with modeling the behavior. When you receive feedback, acknowledge it and discuss what you plan to do with it. When faced with a new assignment, express enthusiasm for the learning opportunity. Share what you're learning with colleagues. This can inspire others.
So, it's about being a visible example of growth mindset in action. And what about embracing new responsibilities? Sometimes that can feel like being asked to do more work.
That's a valid concern. But from a growth mindset perspective, Taking on new responsibilities is an investment in your own skill set and your future. It's about signaling that you are capable of growth and ready for new challenges. Think of it as adding more tools to your professional toolbox. The more tools you have, the more valuable you become.
I can see how that would lead to career advancement. If you're constantly learning, improving based on feedback, you're naturally going to be seen as more valuable. It's about continuous improvement.
And this continuous improvement is fueled by a belief in our ability to learn and grow. Our brains are not fixed. Every time we learn something new, we're physically changing our brain. In the workplace, this means we're becoming more capable individuals.
It's empowering to think of it that way. Instead of seeing a career as a ladder, it's more like a garden where we're constantly planting new seeds and watching them grow.
That's a wonderful metaphor, Lisa. And just like in a garden, sometimes you encounter weeds or unfavorable conditions. In the workplace, those weeds might be difficult colleagues, challenging projects, or self-doubt. But with a growth mindset, we learn to manage those challenges and keep our focus on nurturing our own development.
So, to summarize what we've covered regarding growth mindset at work, it's about shifting our perspective to see our jobs as opportunities for learning. It's about embracing challenges as chances to expand our skills. It's about viewing feedback as valuable information for improvement. And it's about understanding our brains are capable of growth, making us more adaptable professionals.
Exactly. And by consciously applying these principles, we can not only advance our own careers, but also contribute to creating more positive, innovative, and productive work environments. It's a win-win situation for individuals and organizations. We're not just performing tasks. We are actively shaping our professional identities and capabilities.
It's about being proactive in our career development. Instead of waiting for opportunities, we actively seek out learning experiences, ask for feedback, and step up to new responsibilities. This proactive approach is powerful.
And this proactive approach is something we can start implementing today. Even small shifts in our thinking can lead to significant changes. For instance, when you receive constructive criticism, take a moment to genuinely reflect on it. What specific actions can you take based on that feedback? Write them down. This turns abstract feedback into concrete steps for growth.
That's a fantastic, actionable tip. Turning feedback into action. It makes it tangible and reinforces the idea that we can improve. It's like taking notes during a lecture. It helps consolidate the information.
And this ties into building our resilience. When we approach work with a growth mindset, setbacks become less devastating and more like learning experiences. We understand that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's often a stepping stone. This is especially important in dynamic work environments.
So, for anyone listening who might be facing a particularly tough work situation, remember that your current abilities are not your final destination. Your capacity to learn and adapt is your superpower in the workplace. Lean into that. Ask questions. Seek out resources. Don't be afraid to say, I don't know yet, but I'm eager to learn.
That's a perfect summary of our discussion today. We've seen how growth mindset principles are incredibly powerful tools for professional growth, career advancement, and creating dynamic work environments.
It's about transforming our mindset from, I am this way to I am learning to be this way. And that simple shift can unlock so much potential in our careers.
Indeed, and this focus on continuous learning and reflection is something we'll be diving even deeper into in our next episode. We'll be exploring the power of mindset journaling, a structured way to harness our reflections and accelerate our growth.
That sounds like a fantastic way to really cement these concepts. I'm looking forward to it.
Great. So, to recap our journey in this episode, we've learned to apply growth mindset to the workplace by embracing challenges as learning opportunities, viewing feedback as guidance, and recognizing our innate capacity for growth and development. We've emphasized the importance of modeling this behavior and proactively seeking out new responsibilities as investments in our careers. It's all about continuous improvement and becoming a more capable, adaptable professional. Next episode, the reflection ritual, the power of mindset journaling. Welcome back to the Growth Mindset Playbook. Last time, we explored how to cultivate a growth mindset in the professional world. Now, we're focusing on a key implementation tool, the reflection ritual, specifically mindset journaling.
Mindset journaling. That sounds a little daunting, maybe? Like something you do in a quiet, dimly lit room with a cup of tea?
It can be, but it doesn't have to be. At its heart, mindset journaling is simply taking a few moments to pause, reflect on your experiences, and actively consider your thoughts and reactions through the lens of a growth mindset. It's about becoming a detective of your own mind.
A detective of your own mind. I like that. So, it's not just about writing down what happened, but how you thought about what happened and how you reacted.
Exactly. Think back to our early episodes. We talked about the difference between a fixed mindset, where you believe your abilities are set in stone, and a growth mindset, where you see abilities as something that can be developed through dedication and hard work. Mindset journaling is your personal practice for strengthening that growth mindset muscle. It helps you catch those ingrained, fixed mindset triggers before they derail your progress.
So, if I'm having a tough day at work or I make a mistake, instead of just feeling bad about it, I can use my journal to understand why I'm feeling that way and what my internal narrative is.
Precisely. Let's imagine a scenario. You're working on a challenging project, and you hit a roadblock. A fixed mindset reaction might be, I'm not smart enough for this, or this is too hard. I should just give up. Sound familiar?
Oh, definitely. But then, what would a growth mindset reaction look like? And how would I capture that in a journal?
Great question. Your journal entry might simply start with noting the situation. Encountered a significant problem with the Q3 data analysis. Then, you'd reflect on your initial thoughts and feelings. Felt frustrated and a bit overwhelmed. My first thought was, I can't solve this. This is you identifying your fixed mindset trigger.
Okay, so I've identified the trigger. What's next? How do I shift it?
This is where the magic of journaling happens. You then consciously reframe it with a growth mindset. You might ask yourself, what can I learn from this challenge? Or what steps can I take to overcome this obstacle? Your journal entry could continue. Instead of giving up, what if I approach this differently? I could break down the problem into smaller parts. I could research similar issues online. I could even ask a colleague for a fresh perspective.
Wow. So, it's like having a conversation with yourself, but in a constructive, problem solving way. You're not just wallowing in the difficulty, you're actively strategizing.
Absolutely. And the key is consistency. Doing this just once won't magically rewire your brain, but doing it regularly, perhaps at the end of each day or after a particularly challenging event, starts to build new neural pathways. You're training your brain to look for solutions, to see setbacks as opportunities, and to embrace the effort involved in learning.
This ties back to neuroplasticity, doesn't it? Episode 6, where we talked about the brain being like a muscle that can change and grow. Journaling is like giving that muscle a specific workout.
You've got it. And over time, you'll start to notice a shift. You'll catch those fixed mindset thoughts earlier. You might even find yourself naturally thinking, okay, this is tough, but what's the growth opportunity here? Before you even reach for your journal.
So, the journal becomes less about identifying triggers and more about reinforcing growth oriented thinking. It's like a feedback loop.
Exactly. And it's also an incredible tool for tracking your progress. Remember episode 4, Failure's Gift? You can look back at past entries and see how you've responded to similar challenges differently over time. You can see tangible evidence of your growth.
Looking back and seeing how far I've come, that's got to be incredibly motivating. It's like looking at old photos and realizing how much you've grown up, but for your mindset.
A perfect analogy. Now, to make this practical, what might a basic mindset journal entry look like? Let's break it down into a few key elements. You can adapt this to suit your style, but it's a good starting point.
Lay it on us.
First, date and context. This is simple. Just jot down the date and a brief, general description of the situation you want to reflect on. For example, Monday, April 15th, presentation to the team.
Got it. Date and what happened.
Second, observation, my thoughts and feelings. Here, you honestly record what you were thinking and feeling at the time. Don't judge it, just observe. Were you anxious? Frustrated? Excited? Did you think, I'm going to mess this up? Or, this is going to be great? Be specific. Felt a knot in my stomach before starting. Worried I'd forget my points.
This is the detective work, right? Uncovering the raw data of your reactions.
Precisely. Third, identify the mindset. This is where you analyze your observations. Was this a fixed mindset reaction, a growth mindset reaction, or perhaps a bit of both? You can jot down phrases like, this feels like a fixed mindset thought, I'm bad at public speaking, or this is a growth mindset approach, I need more practice and preparation.
So, explicitly naming it helps to solidify the understanding. It's like putting a label on it.
And the fourth, and perhaps most crucial, step is growth action/learning. What did you learn from this experience? Or what action can you take going forward? This is where you actively apply the growth mindset. I realized I need to practice my presentation point in front of a mirror. I also learned that asking a colleague to listen to me beforehand could be helpful for future presentations. Or if it was a success already, I learned that preparation really does reduce my anxiety, and I should consistently apply this strategy.
So, it's 1. Date and context. 2. My thoughts and feelings. 3. Identify the mindset. And 4. Growth action or learning. That feels manageable.
It is. And those 4 steps are your core reflection ritual. Now, let's expand on each of those a little because the nuance is important. When you're observing your thoughts and feelings, it's easy to get caught up in storytelling. Try to stick to the core emotions and the direct thoughts that arose.
Right. Less of a novel, more of a report.
Exactly. And when you're identifying the mindset, try to be honest. It's not about being perfect. It's about accurate assessment. If part of you felt fixed, acknowledge it. Then, consciously choose the growth mindset approach for your action step. Consider the what-if scenarios. What if I saw this as an opportunity? What if I focus on the process, not just the outcome?
The what if questions are powerful. They open up possibilities that the fixed mindset immediately slams shut.
They do. And for the growth action or learning step, be specific and actionable. Instead of, I'll try harder next time, which is vague, aim for something concrete like, I will spend 15 minutes reviewing my notes before my next team meeting. Or, I will identify one specific skill I want to improve this week and find a resource to help me practice it.
So, it's about creating a clear, actionable plan that moves you forward. Which makes perfect sense when you consider what a growth mindset is all about: development and progress.
Absolutely. And remember, this isn't about creating a perfectly polished document. It's about sincere self-reflection. Your journal is a safe space. It's for your eyes only. The more honest you are, the more benefit you'll gain.
What about different types of journaling? Is there more than one way to do this?
That's a great point, Lisa. While the 4-step process is robust, there are variations. Some people prefer a more free-form stream of consciousness, and that can be effective too. The most important thing is that it serves you.
So, if free writing helps me uncover those fixed mindset thoughts, and then I can identify them from there, that works?
Precisely. Another approach is to focus specifically on challenges. At the end of the day, you might ask yourself, what was the biggest challenge I faced today, and how did I approach it? Or, where did I get stuck, and what did I learn? This targets areas where fixed mindset tendencies often emerge most strongly.
And this kind of journaling would be particularly useful for navigating obstacles, which we'll discuss in episode 12.
It absolutely will be. We've definitely been building towards this. Now, let's talk about consistency and making this a habit. Like any new practice, it's easy to fall off the wagon. What strategies can we use to ensure we stick with it?
I'm guessing linking it to an existing habit is key, like brushing your teeth or before bed.
You're absolutely right. Habit stacking is a powerful technique. If you already have a nightly routine, add your journaling session right before or after an established part of it. For instance, after I put my alarm clock for tomorrow, I will journal for 5 minutes.
And keeping the journal accessible is important too. If I have to go to a special drawer, it's another barrier.
Definitely. Keep your journal and a pen readily available. For those who prefer digital, there are countless journaling apps. The medium isn't as important as the practice itself. Some people even use their phone's voice recorder to capture their thoughts, which would be a quick way to do it on the go.
I can see how that would work. Just speaking your thoughts out loud. It's like an immediate processing of what's going on in your head.
It is. And to amplify the benefits, try revisiting your entries periodically. Set a reminder, perhaps once a month, to read back over your past reflections. You'll gain incredible insights into your patterns, your progress, and areas where you might still be harboring fixed mindset beliefs.
Looking back at those entries will be like a roadmap of your growth journey. Seeing how you've transformed your reactions to similar situations over time is proof that change is possible.
This review process is where you really solidify your learning. You connect the dots between your daily reflections and your overall journey towards becoming a perpetual learner. Remember episode 11, Becoming a Perpetual Learner? This journaling and review process is a core component of that identity.
It all connects, doesn't it? It feels like so many of the concepts we've discussed are coming together in this practice of journaling. It's not just about changing your thoughts in the moment, but about creating a sustained understanding and capability.
Exactly. It's about building self-awareness, fostering self-compassion, and actively shaping your mindset. When you regularly engage in this reflection ritual, you're actively participating in your own growth. You're not just a passive observer of your life, you're an active architect.
An active architect of your own growth. I love that. It empowers you to take control. So, to recap, the reflection ritual through mindset journaling involves 1. Recording the date and context of an experience. 2. Honestly observing your thoughts and feelings. 3. Identifying whether your reaction leans towards a fixed or growth mindset. And 4. Defining a growth action or a learning outcome.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. By consistently practicing these steps, you train your brain to recognize fixed mindset triggers, reframe challenges with a growth-oriented perspective, and track your progress. It's your personal toolkit for building resilience, embracing learning, and continuously evolving.
It sounds like an essential practice for anyone committed to developing a strong growth mindset.
It truly is. It's a simple habit with profound impacts, helping you integrate everything we've discussed into your daily life. Thanks for listening. Welcome back to the Growth Mindset Playbook. Last time, we explored mindset journaling. Today, we're focusing on becoming a perpetual learner.
That's an exciting shift, Alex. It feels like we're moving from learning about a growth mindset to truly living it.
Exactly, Lisa. It's about evolving our self-perception. Instead of seeing ourselves as finished products, we embrace being continuous works in progress. Many of us were taught to believe we have fixed traits. You are either good at math or not. This creates a fixed identity, and struggles feel like proof against it.
Right. If you fail a math test but believe you're good at math, it feels like a crisis of your core self, rather than a learning moment.
Precisely. But a perpetual learner knows their abilities and knowledge are dynamic, not static. They are a vibrant, unfinished sculpture, constantly being shaped and refined through experience. This evolving identity means we define ourselves not by our current skill level, but by our commitment to learning and improving.
I love that image. The sculpture's process is part of its beauty. So, this evolving identity means we're focused on the journey of learning, not just reaching a destination.
That's the heart of it. When you see yourself as a perpetual learner, every experience offers data for growth. A new project is a chance to learn new skills. A challenging conversation is an opportunity to practice communication. A new hobby is an invitation to expand your world.
That sounds incredibly freeing. If you're not trying to prove you already know something, you're free to explore what you don't.
You've pinpointed a major benefit. It liberates us from the fear of judgment. When our identity isn't tied to being the expert or naturally talented, asking questions or admitting we don't know becomes easier. This is vital because challenges and setbacks are essential for growth.
Remember in episode 3 about embracing challenges? This identity shift makes challenges a confirmation, not a threat, to who we are as learners.
Absolutely. And in episode 4, we discussed failure as a gift. For the perpetual learner, failure isn't a judgment on worth. It's simply feedback. It signals that one approach didn't work and prompts exploration of a new one. It becomes a stepping stone.
So, becoming a perpetual learner isn't just about gaining knowledge, but adopting a mindset where learning is the default state and our self-worth comes from that ongoing process.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. It's a profound internal shift. Instead of saying, I am X, we embrace I am becoming X. This changes how we approach everything, fostering a curiosity that never fades.
Curiosity is such a powerful force. As adults, responsibilities can sometimes bury that natural childhood wonder.
They can. The perpetual learner consciously reawakens it. It's about being a learn-it-all, always seeking to understand, connect ideas, and see for new perspectives. It's the difference between someone who reads a book and thinks they know it now versus someone who thinks this sparks more questions.
The second person is clearly the perpetual learner, integrating knowledge and fostering more inquiry. How can we actively cultivate this identity? It can't just be passive, can it?
No, it requires conscious effort. This is where our previous practices become even more powerful when viewed through this identity lens. Neuroplasticity, for instance, tells us our brains are designed to change. Engaging in learning physically rewires our brains for greater learning capacity.
So, every time we learn something new, we strengthen our ability to learn in the future, reinforcing that perpetual learner identity biologically.
Precisely. And when we combine that with practices like setting learning goals and seeking feedback, we are actively constructing this identity. It's like an artist adding layers to a canvas, building depth and richness.
Mindset journaling ties in perfectly here. Documenting learning experiences and insights reinforces our narrative as engaged, learning-centric individuals. We're telling ourselves the story of a perpetual learner.
You're right. It's about curating our own story. Our identity is defined by our engagement with growth, not solely by achievements or failures. This identity shift provides a protective shield against criticism or doubt. If someone says you're not good at something, your internal response can be, that may be true now, but I am learning.
That's a powerful internal defense. It means others can comment on current skill, but not on our fundamental capacity to grow.
Exactly. This identity also fosters immense resilience. Life presents unexpected changes. But if you see yourself as someone who learns and adapts, you're not devastated. You view them as new scenarios to navigate and learn from. Think of a sailor adjusting their sails for any wind. They master their response.
That's a brilliant analogy for resilience. Not avoiding challenges, but learning to adjust. So, for someone listening, what are actionable steps to embody this identity beyond the practices we've covered? How do they start thinking of themselves as perpetual learners?
It begins with a conscious decision to adopt this identity. When you encounter something you don't understand, your first thought should be, my identity is that of a learner. How can I find out more? This shifts your response from frustration to curiosity and problem solving.
So, step one is the explicit declaration. I am a perpetual learner.
Yes. Then actively look for opportunities to embody that declaration. Seize small chances to learn something new daily, a new word, a different perspective, a shortcut. These small wins build momentum.
We need to actively seek and recognize those small learning opportunities we might usually overlook.
Exactly. Also, consciously reframe your self-talk. Instead of making a mistake, try learning from that situation. Instead of thinking, I'm not good at public speaking, try I am practicing and developing my public speaking skills. These small verbal shifts reinforce your evolving identity.
That's incredibly impactful. It's like editing the script of our internal monologue to match our desired identity.
It is. Finally, surround yourself with cues of growth. Follow inspiring learners, read challenging books, and engage with people passionate about learning. When your environment reflects your desired identity, it becomes easier to live into it.
To recap, becoming a perpetual learner means shifting our identity from a fixed product to an evolving one. We embrace continuous growth, using curiosity as our guide. This identity liberates us, builds resilience, and turns every experience into a learning opportunity. We cultivate this by declaring our identity, seeking small learning moments, reframing self-talk, and immersing ourselves in a growth-oriented environment.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. It's about living life as an ongoing adventure in learning. The goal isn't to arrive, but to always be on the path, eager for discovery. This journey has taken us from understanding a growth mindset to building it, and now to living it as who we are.
It truly has. From the spark of curiosity to realizing we are and always can be learning.
And that leads us to our final episode about integrating these tools into your personalized growth strategy and embracing the perpetual learner's promise. Next episode, integrating the playbook, your personalized growth strategy. Welcome back. Last time, we explored the idea of becoming a perpetual learner and how your identity can evolve. Today, we're tackling something crucial, navigating the obstacles that pop up when we're trying to cultivate a growth mindset.
Ah, the inevitable bumps in the road. It's one thing to understand the theory of a growth mindset, but when those old fixed mindset habits creep back in, it can feel really discouraging.
Exactly, Lisa. It's like a muscle you're trying to build. Some days it feels strong, and other days it feels a little weak, especially when you encounter a trigger. These triggers are those situations or thoughts that send us right back into fixed mindset territory.
So, what are some of the most common triggers we need to watch out for?
One of the biggest is self-doubt. You know, that inner voice that whispers, you're not good enough, or you'll never be able to do this. It's that feeling of not being capable.
I certainly know that voice. It's often loudest when we're facing something genuinely challenging, right? The very thing that a growth mindset encourages, but that fixed mindset recoils from.
Precisely. And how we respond to that self-doubt is key. Instead of accepting it as truth, a growth mindset approach is to acknowledge it. Okay, I'm feeling self-doubt right now. That's a signal that this is something important and challenging.
So, we don't fight the feeling, but we reframe it?
Yes, you can even talk back to that voice. Remind yourself of a time you overcame something difficult. Think about the effort you put in. You can say, this is hard, but I can learn. I could try a different approach. I've learned new things before, and I can learn this. It's about shifting from I can't to how can I.
That's a powerful reframe. What about external criticism? Other people's opinions can be a huge trigger for that fixed mindset feeling of being judged.
External criticism is tough. If someone criticizes your work or your abilities, and you're in a fixed mindset, you often see it as proof of your inherent flaws. It confirms your deepest fears about your lack of talent.
And then you might want to shut down, avoid the person, or become defensive.
Exactly. But with a growth mindset, we can learn to differentiate between constructive feedback and simply unhelpful negativity. Ask yourself, is there any truth to this criticism that I can learn from? Is this person's opinion actually relevant to my goals?
So, if it's constructive, we can perhaps incorporate it into our learning journey, even if it stings a little at first.
Yes. You might say, thank you for that feedback. I'll consider how I can improve X. If the criticism is unfounded or overly harsh, you can learn to let it go. It's not a reflection of your fixed abilities, but perhaps a reflection of the other person's perspective or issues. It's about developing a filter.
That makes sense. It's about disentangling the feedback from our core sense of self-worth.
Absolutely. Another significant trigger is feeling stuck or experiencing a plateau in progress. You've been working hard, but you're not seeing the results you expected, and you start to believe you've reached your limit.
That's incredibly frustrating. It feels like you're banging your head against a wall.
It does. When you hit that wall, the fixed mindset says, see, I told you, you're just not cut out for this. But the growth mindset asks, what can I do differently? Is there another strategy one haven't tried? Should I seek advice? Can I break this problem down into smaller steps?
It's about problem solving rather than giving up. Perhaps stepping away for a bit, getting a fresh perspective, or even looking back at how far you've already come can help.
Excellent point. Sometimes just a short break can provide the clarity needed. And remembering how far you've come is a powerful antidote to feeling stuck. It's a reminder that progress isn't always linear. We discussed this when we talked about challenges and failure. Periods of slow progress are often signals to change tactics, not to quit.
So, to recap our main triggers: self-doubt, external criticism, and feeling stuck. For each, the shift is from seeing these as evidence of our fixed limitations to seeing them as signals for different strategies and a chance to learn.
Exactly. And beyond these specific triggers, the general feeling of being overwhelmed can also lead us back to fixed mindset thinking. When a sheer amount of effort required seems daunting, it's tempting to think, this is too much. I'm not built for this.
How do we combat overwhelm?
The key is to break things down. Instead of looking at the entire mountain, focus on the next step. We've talked about this in previous episodes when we discussed building daily practices in your growth mindset toolkit. Small, consistent actions add up.
So, if you want to learn a new skill, don't think about mastering it overnight. Think about the first 15 minutes you'll dedicate today.
Precisely. And remember that progress, not perfection, is the goal. The growth mindset isn't about eliminating struggle. It's about embracing it as a natural and necessary part of learning and development. It's about building resilience.
Resilience. That's a key word, isn't it? It's the ability to bounce back from these triggers.
It is. And part of building resilience is developing self-compassion. When you slip back into fixed mindset thinking, don't beat yourself up. That's just another trigger. Instead, acknowledge it kindly, forgive yourself, and gently guide yourself back toward your growth mindset intentions.
That's a really important reminder. We're human and we're learning. It's not about being perfect, it's about being persistent in our learning.
Think of it like a GPS. If you take a wrong turn, the GPS doesn't scold you. It recalculates and gives you new directions. You need to be your own supportive navigator.
I love that analogy. So, when faced with self-doubt, we remind ourselves of past successes and focus on the how can I question. When facing criticism, we filter for learning opportunities and let go of the rest. And when feeling stuck, we change our strategy or seek help, remembering that progress isn't always linear.
You've got it. And all of these strategies are about actively choosing your response. You're not a passive recipient of your thoughts or circumstances. You are an active participant in your growth.
It's about cultivating that internal dialogue that supports learning rather than one that shuts it down.
Exactly. And it's a practice. The more you consciously navigate these triggers, the stronger your growth mindset becomes, and the less power these triggers will have over you. You're essentially reprogramming those automatic fixed mindset reactions.
So, we're not aiming to eliminate challenges or criticism, but to change our relationship with them.
That's the ultimate goal, to see them as opportunities rather than threats. This strengthens your belief that your abilities can be developed. It reinforces the idea that effort and strategy are the pathways to improvement.
And this really ties back to so many of the concepts we've explored throughout the series, from the power of challenges and learning from setbacks to the understanding that our brains are capable of change.
It does. These obstacles are not roadblocks to a growth mindset. They're the very terrain you navigate on the journey towards becoming a perpetual learner. By understanding these triggers and having strategies to counter them, you're building a robust and resilient approach to lifelong learning and development.
It's empowering to know that even when we stumble, we have the tools and the mindset to get back up and keep moving forward, stronger and wiser.
Indeed. So, as you encounter those moments of doubt, criticism, or feeling stuck, remember to apply these strategies. Acknowledge, reframe, strategize, and be kind to yourself. These are the actions that build a truly enduring growth mindset.
It's about making that conscious choice time and time again to believe in your capacity to learn and grow.
Next episode, we'll focus on how to bring all of this together into your own personalized growth strategy. Thanks for listening. Welcome back to the Growth Mindset Playbook. We've reached episode 13, and it's time to weave together all the threads of our journey. We've explored the spark of a growth mindset, the pitfalls of its fixed counterpart, the power of challenges, and the lessons learned from failure. We've even delved into neuroplasticity, the science behind our brain's ability to change, and equipped ourselves with practical tools for daily growth. We've looked at applying these principles in parenting and at work, and we've even established a reflection ritual and begun to see ourselves as perpetual learners. Last time, we focused on navigating those inevitable obstacles and overcoming fixed mindset triggers.
That's right, Alex. We've covered so much ground. It's almost like we've been building this incredible structure, brick by brick, and now we're ready to furnish it and make it truly our own. This episode is all about taking everything we've learned and integrating it into a personalized growth strategy. It's not just about knowing these concepts anymore, it's about living them.
Exactly, Lisa. Think of this playbook not as a rigid set of rules, but as a collection of powerful principles and practices. Your job now is to become the architect of your own growth. This means creating a personalized strategy, one that resonates with your unique life, your goals, and your challenges.
So, how do we start building this personalized strategy, Alex? Where's the blueprint?
The blueprint, my friend, is you. It starts with reflection. Remember our reflection ritual from episode 10? It's time to revisit that with a new depth. What have been your biggest takeaways from this journey so far? What concepts have truly clicked for you and why?
That's a great starting point. For me, understanding that my brain is a muscle, that neuroplasticity means I'm not stuck with my current abilities, has been so empowering. It shifts the entire narrative from, I can't, to, how can I learn to?
That's a perfect example. For someone else, it might be the realization that failure isn't an end, but a signpost directing them toward a new approach. So, your first step in creating your strategy is to identify those core principles that will be the foundation of your growth. Write them down. What are the 3 to 5 ideas from this playbook that you want to actively cultivate?
Okay, so step one is reflect and identify my core growth mindset principles. What comes next?
Next, we translate those principles into actionable habits. We've discussed many practices, from embracing challenges to practicing self-compassion when things don't go as planned. Now, look at your identified principles and ask yourself, what specific actions can I take daily or weekly to embody this principle?
Let me try this. If one of my core principles is embracing challenges, a daily habit might be to intentionally step slightly outside my comfort zone each day. It could be as small as speaking up in a meeting, trying a new recipe, or taking a different route home.
Beautifully put. And if another principle is learning from setbacks, what might that actionable habit look like?
That could be setting aside 5 minutes after a difficult task or a mistake to jot down what went wrong, what I learned, and what I'll do differently next time. It's like turning a stumble into a step forward, not dwelling on the fall.
Precisely. This is about making the abstract concrete. We're not just saying, I have a growth mindset. We're demonstrating it through repeatable actions. Think about those neuroplasticity concepts we covered. If you want to get better at something, you need to repeatedly do that thing, pushing yourself just a little each time. Your personalized strategy should highlight these specific doing activities.
So, identify the core principles and then define specific, actionable habits for each principle. This makes it feel much more manageable, like a recipe I can actually follow.
Exactly. Now, our personal lives are rarely smooth sailing. We've talked about fixed mindset triggers. Your personalized strategy needs to include a plan for recognizing and responding to these triggers. Remember episode 12? What were some of those common triggers?
Things like receiving constructive criticism, seeing others succeed, facing a difficult task, or even just feeling a lack of motivation.
And how do we suggest responding?
We talked about reframing those thoughts. Instead of this criticism means I'm not good enough, it becomes this feedback is an opportunity to learn and improve. And instead of they're so lucky they succeeded, it's what strategies do they use? Can I learn from their approach?
Yes. So, in your personalized strategy, you'll list your common triggers, and for each one, you'll write down your go-to growth mindset response. It's like having a mental toolkit ready to deploy when those old habits try to creep back in. You're preempting the fixed mindset.
This is so smart. It's about being proactive, not just reactive. I can imagine writing down a list. Trigger. Difficult project at work. My growth response. Break it down into smaller steps. Identify an expert to consult. Schedule dedicated work time. It provides a clear path forward.
And on that path, you'll need support. Who are your growth allies? These are the people in your life who encourage your development, who celebrate your efforts, and who offer constructive feedback with good intentions. Your strategy should identify these individuals and perhaps even suggest ways to proactively engage with them.
That's an important point. Sometimes we try to do it all alone. We've discussed how growth mindset can be nurtured in communal settings like families and workplaces. So, my growth allies might be friends I can brainstorm with, a mentor who offers guidance, or even a family member who provides encouragement.
Precisely. And boss, conversely, it's also about recognizing relationships that might inadvertently reinforce a fixed mindset and finding ways to navigate those interactions with your growth mindset lens. This doesn't mean cutting people out, but rather managing your own responses and expectations.
So, we have our core principles, our actionable habits, our trigger responses, and our growth allies. What else goes into this personalized strategy?
Goal setting, but with a growth mindset twist. We talked about how the process of learning is as important as the outcome. So, when you set goals, make sure they're not just outcome focused, but also process focused.
Meaning, instead of just aiming for a specific grade, I'd also focus on the specific learning activities that will help me get there, like attending all lectures, forming a study group, and completing practice problems diligently.
Exactly. You are setting goals related to your effort, your strategy, and your learning. For example, a process-oriented goal might be, this month I will dedicate 30 minutes each day to practicing my new programming language, focusing on understanding each new concept before moving on. The outcome of becoming proficient will be a natural consequence of consistently engaging in this process.
And this connects back to neuroplasticity, doesn't it? By consistently engaging in those specific learning activities, we're literally rewiring our brains to build those skills.
That's the beautiful synergy. Now, your personalized strategy should also include a plan for reflection and adaptation. This isn't a static document. It's a living, breathing guide. Regular check-ins are crucial. How often will you review your strategy? Quarterly? Monthly?
I think monthly feels like a good starting point. It's frequent enough to make adjustments while still allowing time to see the impact of the habits I've implemented.
And when you review, ask yourself, what's working well? What's not? Are my habits still aligned with my core principles? Do I need to adjust my triggers responses? Are my goals still relevant and challenging in a good way? This iterative process is key to sustained growth.
This is fantastic, Alex. It's like building an operating system for my personal growth. I can see how this becomes a framework for continuously improving and evolving.
And it's about embracing that evolving identity we talked about. Your growth strategy is a testament to the fact that you're not fixed. You are a work in progress, a perpetual learner. This strategy is your personal roadmap for that journey.
So, to recap the integration process, firstly, reflect and identify your core growth mindset principles. Secondly, translate those principles into specific, actionable habits. Thirdly, develop a plan for recognizing and responding to fixed mindset triggers. Fourthly, identify your growth allies and establish how you'll leverage them. Fifthly, set process-focused goals that fuel your learning. And finally, plan for regular reflection and adaptation of your strategy.
You've got it, Lisa. This is your playbook, personalized. Don't be afraid to experiment. What works for one person might need tweaking for another. The most important thing is to commit to the journey, to continue to embrace challenges, learn from setbacks, and see your potential as limitless.
It feels empowering to have this framework. It's not just theory anymore, it's practical application woven into the fabric of everyday life. It's about making growth an intentional, ongoing pursuit.
And that, Lisa, is the essence of becoming a perpetual learner. Next episode, we'll explore the ultimate promise of this growth journey, embracing lifelong growth. It's a fitting conclusion to our playbook.
I'm really looking forward to it. It's amazing to think about where we started and how far we've come.
Indeed. So, start building your personalized growth strategy today. The power is truly in your hands.
Next episode, embracing lifelong growth.
Welcome to the Growth Mindset Playbook's final episode.
What an insightful journey this has been, Alex. We've explored the essence of a growth mindset, contrasted it with a fixed mindset, and highlighted the profound impact of embracing challenges and learning from setbacks. We even delved into neuroplasticity, the incredible notion that our brains are designed to grow and adapt.
That's right, Lisa. We've uncovered practical strategies for cultivating a growth mindset daily, how to foster in children, and its application in the professional sphere. We've also emphasized the significance of self-reflection and, crucially, how to navigate and overcome fixed mindset triggers.
It truly feels like we've assembled a comprehensive guide, a playbook for continuous personal development. Yet, as we conclude this series, a key realization emerges. Adopting a growth mindset is less about reaching a destination and more about embracing an ongoing practice, a way of life.
You've perfectly captured it, Lisa. That's precisely the focus of our final discussion. The perpetual learner's promise, embracing lifelong growth. Consider it this way. That innate curiosity, the drive to acquire new knowledge, the willingness to venture into the unfamiliar, these are the defining traits of a perpetual learner. It's a conscious choice to continue evolving, irrespective of age or past achievements.
So, it's not about one day declaring, I have a growth mindset, and considering the task complete. Instead, it involves consistently nurturing that mindset, much like tending to a garden.
Precisely. Recall our conversation about neuroplasticity the idea that your brain functions like a muscle. This is where that concept finds its ultimate expression. Every instance you approach a challenge with the belief, I can acquire this skill, or every time you seek feedback rather than avoid it, you're actively reinforcing those pathways in your brain that promote growth. You are strengthening that resilient, capable attitude at a biological level. It's a continuous process of becoming.
And the remarkable aspect is how this continuous growth can permeate every facet of our existence. We've touched upon family and career, but its influence extends to hobbies, relationships, and our overall perception of the world.
Absolutely. Picture the deep satisfaction of mastering a new skill, not for external praise, but for the pure joy derived from the learning process itself. That is the essence of a perpetual learner's mindset. It's about cherishing the journey, with all its triumphs and tribulations, its moments of difficulty and its breakthroughs. It's recognizing that learning isn't a confined activity that concludes with formal education. It's an enduring adventure.
We've shared a wealth of tools and techniques throughout the series, haven't we? From embracing challenges and learning from failures to emphasizing effort and incorporating daily practices and journaling. For anyone listening, whether they've been with us from the start or are just joining for this concluding episode, what is the fundamental principle for embracing this lifelong journey of growth?
The core principle is commitment. It's about making a deliberate, personal pledge to yourself. A pledge to remain inquisitive, to be receptive to new perspectives, and to view every experience, whether positive or negative, as an avenue for learning and personal evolution. It's about understanding that setbacks are not reflections of your inherent limitations, but rather guideposts on the path to mastery.
So, when we encounter an obstacle or feel that familiar inclination to revert to a fixed mindset, that personal promise is what propels us forward. It serves as a reminder that this is an integral part of the process.
Exactly. It involves cultivating an internal dialogue that affirms, this is challenging, but I can extract valuable lessons from it, as opposed to, I am not adept at this. This shift in perspective is paramount. It is sustained by the understanding that your capabilities are not static, but are inherently expandable.
And this pursuit transcends mere personal achievement. By embracing lifelong learning and a growth mindset, you cultivate greater resilience, adaptability, and ultimately, a more enriched life. You become better equipped to navigate an ever-evolving world.
Indeed, consider the individuals you most admire. It's highly probable that they embody this perpetual learning quality. They are innovators, problem solvers, and dedicated students of their respective fields, whatever those may be. They don't shy away from the unknown. They actively engage with it, driven by an insatiable curiosity.
The prospect is undeniably inspiring. This concept of a promise carries significant weight. It signifies not a passive hope, but an active dedication. What are some ways our listeners can solidify this promise, particularly as this series draws to a close?
That's an excellent question. One highly effective method is to revisit your mindset journal. Reflect on the entries where you identified fixed mindset triggers and documented your choice to respond with a growth mindset. These represent your personal triumphs. They serve as tangible evidence of your capacity to cultivate this mindset. Furthermore, identify a specific area in your life where you've hesitated to try something new, perhaps due to a fear of failure. Designate this as your personal growth project.
So, taking a concrete step, regardless of its magnitude, to implement the principles we've discussed. I find that very practical.
Precisely. And never underestimate the power of community. Share your commitment with a trusted friend, family member, or colleague. Having someone to share your learning journey with can provide invaluable encouragement and accountability. Recall our discussion on the workplace? These principles are universally applicable.
It's akin to having a personal support system cheering on your development and remembering to celebrate those incremental successes along the way, correct? Because the journey can sometimes feel protracted, and acknowledging progress, however modest, serves as crucial motivation.
Absolutely. Celebrating these achievements, whether large or small, reinforces the positive habit. It creates a feedback loop that fosters further growth. View yourselves not as static entities with fixed aptitudes, but as dynamic individuals embarking on a lifelong exploration. Each day presents a fresh opportunity to learn, to adapt, and to evolve into a slightly improved version of yourself.
It's a continuous unfolding. It's about embracing the process of becoming, rather than becoming fixated on a definitive outcome. And indeed, throughout this series, Alex, we've witnessed how this mindset can foster transformation not only in individuals, but also within families and organizations.
It's true. We've covered a vast expanse of territory, from the fundamental distinctions between fixed and growth mindsets, the underlying neuroscience, practical strategies for everyday application, nurturing these attributes in children and the workplace, the significance of reflection and journaling to overcoming those persistent internal doubts.
And at its heart, all of this converges on a single, powerful truth. Your brain possesses the inherent capacity for growth, and with dedicated effort, you can cultivate a mindset that embraces challenges, learns from setbacks, and flourishes through continuous learning. It's about perceiving effort as the pathway to mastery, rather than an indicator of insufficient ability.
We've underscored that failure is not an endpoint, but rather a source of feedback, that intelligence and talent are not fixed, but can be developed, and that the most rewarding path is one of constant learning and personal evolution. It's about posing the question, how can I learn this? Instead of, can I do this?
This concluding episode, The Perpetual Learner's Promise, powerfully reinforces that very concept. It embodies a commitment to perpetual exploration, to continuous inquiry, and to ongoing growth. It represents a profound promise for a life rich with fulfillment.
As we bring the Growth Mindset Playbook series to a close, I'd like to leave you with this final thought. The tools and concepts we've explored are not a one-time solution. They serve as the bedrock for a lifelong practice. Embrace the challenges that come your way, extract lessons from every experience, and most importantly, believe in your inherent capacity for growth and adaptation.
The journey of a perpetual learner is both exhilarating and deeply rewarding. It's about unlocking your boundless potential, one step, one lesson, one challenge at a time.
Thank you for embarking on this incredible journey with us through the Growth Mindset Playbook. We sincerely hope it has equipped you with the insights and motivation to wholeheartedly embrace lifelong growth.
It has been an absolute privilege. So, make that personal promise to yourself. Continue learning, continue growing, and continue thriving.
Thanks for listening to the series.